Hare Krishna and Pranam dear devotees. So welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. So let us begin. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यम ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विशुद्धानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome everyone. So, let us see the quiz results for yesterday. Oh, refreshing. We are total 11 participants and 8 members have attended the quiz. Thank you so much. Number one, Atul Sani Prabhu, 4820 points. And Shimataji, second position, Prabhupada Kripa Sangha. So that must be Shivani. Third position, Aditya Prabhu, fourth position, एक गलत हो गया. Vijay, my mother. Fifth position, one wrong. Anupama Seni Mataji, sixth position, one wrong. And Jeet Mataji is giving the quiz so far. And let us refresh. Okay, so let these members attend the quiz. We have 9 participants now. So we will begin the quiz. Or we will begin the session now. Just a minute. So we are reading from First Canto, chapter 9, and the passing away of Bhishma Dev, है ना? And यहाँ पे अभी we are reading. We are going to start from 27th verse today. और कल हमने जैसे पढ़ा था कि uh, Yudhishthir Maharaj asked Bhishma Dev about the duties and about the duties in the religion. And then Bhishma Dev he starts with the Varnashram, Varnashram, the duties of everybody in the Varnashram, and he's going to continue further. So let us begin. And the devotees who wants to read today, they can raise their hand. Let us begin. दान धर्मान राज धर्मान मोक्ष धर्मान विभागशा स्त्री धर्मान भगवत धर्मान समास व्यास योगता. Synonyms: Dana Dharman, the act of charity; Raj Dharman, pragmatic activities of the kings; Moksha Dharman, the acts for salvation; Vibhagasha, by divisions; Stri Dharman, duties of women; Bhagavad Dharman, the acts of the devotees; Samas, generally; Vyas, explicitly; Yogata, by means of. Translation and purport. Mind Grace, Abhay Charnar in Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. He then explained, just a minute. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of a woman and devotees both briefly and extensively. So here, Vishnu Dev is going to tell us um, about charity, about king's duties, and also about salvation, moksha dharma, and also about the duties of women, and also like here it is comes as Bhagavad dharma, like where Prabhupada writes as the acts of the devotees. To give charity is one of the householder's main functions, and he should be prepared to give in charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices. A householder should give charity. A person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penances and austerities. Those are the general functions of all the ashrams or orders of life on the path of self-realization. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand the world as properly as property belongs to the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. No one, therefore, can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of a householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service. Hmm. As the rivers draw water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly, our energy is borrowed from the supreme source, the Lord's energy, and it must return to the Lord. कितनी अच्छी analogy प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं. This is the perfection of our energy to go back to the source. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita says that whatever you do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give away in charity, must be offered to Him, the Lord. Yat kuroshi dashnasi, yat juhosi tadasi, yat tapasyasi kontaya, tat kurushva madarpanam. This is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inabilities, and thus we become fit for our original natural life of service to the Lord. Raj Dharma is a great science, unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy. The kings were trained systematically to become munificent and not merely be tax collectors. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. To lead the prajas to the attainment of salvation was a great duty of the king. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to become irresponsible in the matters of leading their subjects to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, disease, and old age. Hmm. So this comes also that that unless we are prepared to to take responsibility of those who are responsible, who are dependent on us, to get them liberated from these four things, है ना? Get them liberated, we should not be taking that responsibility. Like, for example, unless we can take the responsibility of a son of our child that they may be released from liberation, we shouldn't become a father like that. Something like that comes. And similarly for the king also, and for the spiritual master. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of government of the people by the people. In modern days, the people in general occupy the administration by the strength of manipulated votes, but they are never trained in the primary duty of the king, and that is also not possible for everyone. Under the circumstances, the untrained administrators play havoc to make the subjects happy in all respects. On the other hand, these untrained administrators gradually become rogues and thieves and increase the taxation to finance a top heavy administration that is useless for all purposes. So, this we can see it is so practically written. Prabhupada is writing, seems like today's story only. Actually, the qualified Brahmins are meant to give direction to the king for proper administration in terms of the scriptures like Manu Samhita and Dharm Shastra of Parashar. A typical king is the ideal of the people in general. And if the king is pious, religious, chivalrous, and munificent, the citizens generally follow him. Such a king is not a lazy, sensuous person living at the cost of the subjects, but alert always to kill thieves and dacoits. The pious kings were not merciful to dacoits and thieves in the name of nonsensical ahimsa, non-violence. The thieves and dacoits were punished in an exemplary way so that in the future no one would dare commit such nuances in an organized form. Such thieves and dacoits were never meant for administrations as they are now. So, जैसे ये, this comes, Prabhupada writes and also speaks also many number of times in his lectures that Earlier, there used to be capital punishment or strict punishment, where even for such kind of crimes and for heinous crimes also, death punishment was very common. And why would that be? It's because, in fact, it is a benediction on the person who is committing that crime that such kind of punishment is given, because that punishment will relieve them from all the sins that they have done, and then they would be gradually be further elevated. They won't degrade to hellish planets like that, and they would still be they would suffer the reactions, of course, but the for the sins they will not suffer. So like that. But now, on the name of non-violence or the name of like not having strict punishments, capital punishments, this is not done, and we see that the crimes are increasing because they know that come what may, they will be saved by the legalities of the process and all such things, and which makes the whole process very weak. First of all, and second, because they know that there won't be any such hard punishment where there will be loss of life. They're not scared of doing that. The taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. The king had a right to take one-fourth of the production made by the subject. The king had a right to claim a fourth of one's allotted wealth. One would never grudge parting with it because, due to pious king and religious harmony, there was enough natural wealth, namely grains, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, etc. And therefore no one was materially unhappy. The citizens were rich in agriculture and animal husbandry, and therefore they had enough grains and fruits and milk without any artificial needs of soaps and toilets, cinemas and bars. The king had to see that the reserved energy of humanity was properly utilized. Human energy is meant not exactly for fulfilling animal propensities but for self realization. The whole government was specifically designed to fulfill this particular purpose. As such, the king had to select properly the cabinet ministers, but not on the strength of voting background. The ministers, the military commanders, and even the ordinary soldiers were all selected by personal qualification, and the king had to supervise them properly before they were appointed to their respective posts. The king was especially vigilant to see that the tapasvis or persons who sacrificed everything for disseminating spiritual knowledge were never disregarded. The king knew well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead never tolerates any insult to his unalloyed devotees. Such tapasvis were trusted leaders even to the rogues and thieves who would never disobey the orders of tapasvis. The king would give special protection to illiterates, helpless, and widow of the state. Defense measures were arranged previously to any attack by the enemies. The taxing process was easy and it was not meant for squandering but was for strengthening the reserve fund. The soldiers were recruited from all parts of the world and they were trained for special duties. As far as salvation is concerned, one has to conquer the principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, avarice, and bewilderment. To get freedom from anger, one should learn how to forgive. To be free from unlawful desires, one should not make plans. By spiritual culture, one is able to conquer sleep. By tolerance, one can conquer desires and avarice. Disturbances from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. Wow. एक एक करके we can see all the solutions coming. Spiritual solutions to material problems. By self-control, one can be free from false hopes, and money can be saved by avoiding undesirable association. By practice of yoga, one can control hunger, and worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up, and false arguments can be conquered by factual ascertainment. Talkativeness can be avoided by gravity and silence, and by prowess one can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self-cultivation. One must be free from lust, avarice, anger. Avarice means extreme greed. Avarice means extreme greed. Lust extreme greed, anger, dreaming, etc., to actually attain the path of salvation. Wow. This whole paragraph we can underline. So all these things we can note it down and we can apply it in our. I can at least I can I want to apply it in my own life. As far as the women class are concerned, they are accepted as the power of inspiration for men. As such, women are more powerful than men. Mighty Julius Caesar was controlled by a Cleopatra. Such powerful women are controlled by shyness. Therefore, shyness is important for women. Once this control valve is loosened, women can create havoc in society by adultery. Adultery means production of unwanted children known as Varnsankar who disturb the world. Wow. The last item taught by Vishnudev was the process of pleasing the world, pleasing the Lord. We are all eternal servants of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material conditions. The simple process of pleasing the Lord for the householder especially is to install the deity of the Lord at home. By concentrating on the deity, one may progressively go on with the daily routine work, worshipping the deity at home, serving the devotee, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in a holy place and chanting the holy name of the Lord are all inexpensive items by which one can please the Lord. These are also the five things which the Mahaprabhu gave: worshipping the deity, serving the devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in holy place, and chanting. Thus, the subject matter was explained by the grandfather to his grandchildren. So, we see that how Prabhupada is so brilliantly giving explanations to all these things about charity, about activities of a king, about how to attain salvation, and the duties of women and devotees. By devotee means that the last paragraph, Bhagavad Dharma, where we don't forget that what is the whole thing is all about. We are all eternal servants of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material condition of what we are supposed to do. Engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a devotee, under the guidance of pure devotees. Yes, I think Shivani has raised her hand.
Hare Krishna. धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षंश्च सहोपायान यथा मुने नानक नानख्याने तिह तिहासेषु वर्णायाम आस तत्ववित् Dharam, occupational duty, earth, economic development, calm, fulfillment of desire, moksha, ultimate salvation, cha and saha along with, upayan means yatha as it is, mun or sage, nana various, akhyan by recitation of historical narrations, itihasheshu in the histories, varnayam asa described Tattvavit, one who knows the truth. Translation. Then he described the occupational duty of different order and status of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. Purport. Incidents mentioned in Vedic literature such as Puran, Mahabharata, Ramayana are factual historical narrations that took place sometime in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were asserted without chronological reference. Beside that, they happen on different planets, in the different universe, and thus the description of the narration is sometimes measured by three dimensions. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhishma Dev described such narrations before Maharaj Yudhishthir in reply to his different questions.
Yes. So Let's read further. Continue.
Dharma.
Okay, I think Vrindavan Kunda Prabhu has raised the hand.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pranam.
धर्म प्रबद्धस्तस्य काल सा काल प्रत्युपस्थितः यो योगिनश्चन्द्रमृत्योर् वञ्चितस्तुत्रायणः. Dharmam, occupational duties, pravatat, while describing tasya his, saha that, kala time, pratyupastitha exactly appeared, ya that is, yogina for the mystics, chand mrityu of one who dies according to one's own selection of time, vanchita is desired by, two but Uttrayan, the period when the sun runs on the northern horizon. Translation. While Bhishma Dev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. Purport. The perfect yogis or mystics can leave the material body at their own sweet will at a suitable time and go to a suitable planet desired by them. In the Bhagavad Gita 8.24, it is said that the self-realized souls who have exactly identified themselves with the interest of the Supreme Lord can generally leave the material body during the time of the fire god's effulgence and when the sun is in the northern horizon, and thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body, and they are taken advantage of by the expert mystics who have perfected the system. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such super mental states as to be able to leave the material body as desired. Yogis can also reach any planet without no time, without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a very short time, and this is impossible for the materialist.
Sorry.
Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at a speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science, and Bhishma Dev knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and the golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandsons, the Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Shri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages headed by Bhagavan Vyas, etc., all great souls.
Yes. Yes, please continue.
तो ये जो उत्तरायण है इसमें मतलब why what is the significance of leaving body?
ये आता है ना, भगवद गीता में भी आता है.
जी हाँ जी.
Comes there that
इसके पीछे कोई स्टोरी है क्या?
yes, there must be science behind it, like science also, and the way the all the nakshatras they coordinate together, where the auspicious time is there, and some similarly it also happens during the day and during the night also. During the night it is inauspicious, and during the day it is auspicious in the 6 months of Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, like that. But I do not know much of the depth also.
इसमें ऐसा है कि जो उत्तरायण में शरीर छोड़ते हैं दे गेट लिबरेशन, दे मतलब उस 6 months.
Hare Krishna. They, I think they get the desired destination. एक बुक है संस्कार नाम से, उसमें पूरा डिटेल में बताया हुआ है. लाइक अगर उत्तरायण में छोड़ते हैं, अगर अर्ली मॉर्निंग छोड़ते हैं, दैट इज ऑल्सो ऑस्पिशियस. और जो लेट नाइट छूटती है, दैट इज नॉट दैट मच, बट देन इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन कौन से डे पे छूट रही है.
Like for example, on Rath Yatra, the whole day is auspicious. And similar to those days where Janmashtami is there, the whole days are auspicious.
Are auspicious.
Ekadashi is all auspicious. Like that. But we anyhow know the gist, right? Because
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
somehow
Antakale Chamami.
correct. We do not get entangled into that Uttarayan and Dachina and all such things, because by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada, we have got to whatever it is. For it is important that we remember um, Lord's lotus feet. That is the practice that we are trying to do. I think आज question भी था उसका, है ना? What are the most ambitious thing that the pure devotees desire is that at the time of death, which is the most what can we say, the most unpredictable and some, because it is unpredicting thing now, because we want to see that, oh, there would be devotees standing all around us, but we may or may not get that kind of a situation, um, things like that. And we also see that happening it all around us also, even with devotees also. But so then everybody in the last, it's our own consciousness.
Yes, Prabhuji. तदोपसंहृत्य गिरः सहस्रनी विर्मुक्तसंगमन्नादिपुरुषे कृष्णे लसत्पटे चतुर्भुजे पुरा स्थिते मिलितृग्वयधारया तदा at that time upasamritya withdrawing girah speech sahasranihi Bhishmadev, who was expert in thousands of sciences and arts, Vimukta Sangam, completely freed from everything else, Manha mind, Adi Purushe, unto the original personality of Godhead, Krishna unto Krishna, Lasat Pitapate, decorated with yellow garments, Chaturbuje unto the four-handed original Narayan, Purha just before, Sthite standing, Amilita widespread Drik vision with Dharyat fixed. Translation. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. तो उस टाइम पे भगवान four-handed फॉर्म में थे.
हाँ, तो ये हमने कल पढ़ा था ना, that because for Bhishma Dev, Bhagwan Radha Dev is Narayan.
Okay.
And he requested Krishna to take that form of four-handed form, and then God did that. This comes in verse number, yes, May number 24. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus feet with eyes as red as the rising sun is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. तो ये इसमें हमने पढ़ा था.
कल की क्लास में मिस
That Bhishma Dev knew well that Lord Krishna is original Narayan. His worshipable deity was four-handed Narayan. But he knew that the four-handed Narayan is a plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. Indirectly, he desired Lord Krishna to manifest himself in his four-handed Narayan feature of him. Like that.
Purport. In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishma Dev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Therefore, if one is absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, he is sure to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.5 to 15. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. 6. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. 7. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. Without your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. 8. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O path, is sure to reach me. 9. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is unconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. 110. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 11. Persons learn in the Vedas who utter Omkar and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation is that of 12. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. 13. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. 14. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. 15. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Shri Bhishma Dev attained the perfection of quitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Shri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Vishnudev was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. And by the grace of the Lord Shri Vishnudev, had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Hare Krishna.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam manusmara yuddha. That you think of me. Similarly, Vishmadev also, he had a desire of thinking of Krishna, and but to see thinking, but to say of thinking, he had the Lord himself present personally in front of him, you know. So such a fortunate situation. Okay, so if there are any comments or such nice purports that Prabhupada has given to these wonderful. First of all, this whole chapter is so wonderful, and beyond that, the Bhakti Vedanta purports to these wonderful shlokas are just amazing. Each अभी इसमें जैसे प्रभुपाद ने बताया about पूरी भगवद गीता 8.5 से लेकर 8.15 तक, like the whole the shlokas are given here. Like you get so nice. भगवद गीता भी पढ़ लिया. So like that. So amazing.
मतलब केस स्टडी से के साथ अटैच कर दिया प्रभुजी ने.
Attach कर. Correct. जैसे भक्ति शास्त्री के क्वेश्चंस करते हैं.
It's really nice. उस टाइम पढ़ के फील अलग आता है.
उस टाइम अलग. Correct. Thank you so much. So, if there are any comments or any questions, yes, Vrindavan Prabhu is also here. Prabhuji, would you like to add anything?
नहीं प्रभु जी, नहीं बहुत अच्छे से किया.
So, no questions or comments. Sudhit Madhuri is writing amazing chapter. Wish we could read it once more. Yes, Madhuri, we can read it an
Thank you.
infinite number of times.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But reading with you all is different than reading by yourself.
Yes, that is true, because reading with devotees is different, Madhuri.
Absolutely. Hare Krishna.
Hearing from His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj, he was saying the same thing, that कि अकेले करना बहुत मुश्किल है, but when you come together with devotees and same time every day same time, Maharaj was saying that every day same time तो हम खाना भी नहीं खाते, and
ठीक है.
if we get the same thing, same dose every day on same time, the same for the same time duration also, है ना, and the same subject matter with the same devotees, everything becomes very conducive. And
True.
yes, so that is what it is. And in the association of devotees, it just becomes nigama kalpatar or galitam phalam, है ना, that it becomes more and more nectarian, more and more sweeter, like that.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining. And so we will, tomorrow there won't be any session, because tomorrow we have Rath Yatra in Gurgaon. And this time we are having 3 Raths, which is a huge Rath Yatra. We are having 3 different Raths for Jagannath Ji, Baldev and Subhadra Maharani. And so devotees will be busy there. That is why we thought we can do it today, although it was Friday. So we will meet on Sunday. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे कृष्णा। थैंक यू सो मच।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.